Hello there and welcome crystal lover to enjoying a video about how to keep your friend nice, fresh and clean. So the 8 methods of crystal cleansing. I'm not going to go into a lot of details about any of them, just give you some tips and techniques to get going, or I'll have other videos talking about it in more detail. My name is Shamara and I welcome you to this fascinating world of having crystals as friends. The most important thing you need to know about your crystals is that for whatever method you're using, for whatever reason you're using it, you do need to hold the intention of what the energetic exchange is to be. You've probably heard everywhere that your thoughts affect things at the quantum level, and that's a physics fact. Or maybe you've heard everything is connected, and through your stated intentions, you help a crystal to know what to do. And that's a spiritual belief. Does this intention work? Well, let me tell you a story and you can draw your own conclusions. One day I was in the room that had a lot of crystals waiting to go out for sale. But while they weren't for sale, while there wasn't a market running, they would sit in this room and I'd have a lovely time meditating with them and playing with them. And Graham, my husband, and I got into a big fight around the crystals, and it escalated in a way that was ridiculous. When I later chatted to my mentor to just talk about why on earth had this fight gotten out of all control, how were Graham and I ever going to move forward, and by the way we have now, and she said to me, "You didn't happen to have that fight in the room with all the crystals?" And I said, "Yeah, we did." She said, "Well, that's why the fight was so bad. You didn't tell the crystals what to do for the fight. You and Graham just started having an argument." And they said, "Oh, okay, apparently you want to make this argument have more energy." And it just escalated for you guys. And I'd have to say, anytime that Graham and I have had a fight, and believe me, I'm quite verbal, so that has happened quite a bit, I immediately say to all the crystals, please don't escalate the fight. Please actually help Graham and I resolve this. And the fights have never been as loud and as noisy since. So when we're talking about cleansing, we want to have an intention about what we want the crystal to do. It would otherwise just sit in the water or just sit in the crystal and really just wonder, I don't know what you want to do, but the last thing you asked me to do was energize everything, so I'll energize all the horrible blocks that I've got inside me. So you want to state the intention, and the easiest way to state an intention is to hold the crystal and just say, please be cleansed, cleared, purified from all the blocked energies that you have absorbed. It's also a good idea to say that if you're using another crystal or water or something, even the sun, please cleanse and clear all my crystals for me. It also can be an extra benefit if you can visualize that there's white light coming into the crystal. If you can't visualize, then see the rays of the sun. Maybe sit next to a window that you've got sunlight coming in. And again, just intend that that is also helping the crystal be cleansed and refreshed. So now let's talk about the different options for cleansing a crystal that you then use these intentions with. The most easy one is to place the crystal on or in front of an amethyst cluster, a selenite ruler or kyanite, also a good clear quartz cluster. I prefer the points because they actually help direct the energy in much more deeply. Now, my crystal guide says that even though there are books that talk about use carnelian and citrine, I get her saying that they're not so good for cleaning, they're actually better as recharging stone, and I'll talk later about what's recharging. Another option is to use the moonlight. Now, look, any time is fine for releasing the gently. So the next option is to use the moonlight. And it's good for any time you're wanting some gentle releasing of the old, you want to have some beautiful feminine energy support a stone, and it's particularly good when you've got a crystal that's very unhappy with the sun or unhappy with water. You can use the new moon to charge things with new beginnings energy. So maybe you're putting in place some resolutions, like you want to lose some weight or you want to be more forgiving. and use the full moon to charge the crystals with completion energy. Like, I'm really grateful that this crystal has helped me with my new business to grow. I get a sense now you want to move to other duties. So thank you. Be cleaned and blessed for the new beginning of, and then state whatever that new beginning the crystal is to be used for. Another easy option is to use the sunlight. Now, that's obviously any time there is some sunshine around. But the problem is you need to be aware that many crystals are not sunproof. So I would find that at the markets a lot of crystals could handle some sun for like 5, 10, 15 minutes. But I certainly tended to make sure the rose quartz, amethyst, opal, labradorite were moved as quickly away from the sun as I noticed it was now hitting them. The sunproof stones are black natural stones, jasper variety, so things that seem quite earthy, not particularly see-through, that's a bit of an indicator of they'll be fine. The crystals that are not sunproof, as I said, amethyst, rose quartz, things that flash, you've got a risk that the flash could be dried out. So not labradorite, moonstone, and so on. Okay, so let's talk about using smudge, or basically the burning of a plant. Sage is common in America, eucalyptus is used by the Aborigines in Australia, and Palo Santo in Peru. And you need to smoulder it, not have it flaming. Now, there is a big thing these days about cultural appropriation going on. Well, here's a counter argument. Smudging has been done in most, if not all, religions, as well as all native tribes. So I can't quite see how it's cultural appropriation. And to be honest, I bet the shamans would much prefer that we are cleaning up our energy and the crystals that we're using with their tools than remaining energetically dirty and crapping all over them. However, the Aboriginal customer I had did say that he believed the plant should come from the country that you are in when you're doing the cleansing. And to be honest, given the experience I had with crystals, that actually makes some sense. Now, your belief about such matters will help or hinder the effectiveness of the clean. If you're giving your power to the fact that this is not good to do, then don't, because basically the crystals and everything will just go fine. You don't really believe in this, so I know you're waving the smudge around, but I'm just going to ignore it. And my biggest concern about it is if you've got breathing problems, this type of method is going to trigger the asthma or the difficulty breathing. So also not practical for kids. The next one is to place wax or tissue paper over the top of brown rice or rock salt and then throw it away afterwards. Well, personally, I think it's a waste of brown rice, so I don't really like that one. Rock salt, inexpensive to buy from the supermarket, and you just buy the big bag, not the shakers. You do need to have the paper so the crystal is not damaged by the salt, and you need to make sure while you leave it there for a while, you do, after a couple of hours, take it away, and that it's not a wet day, otherwise the salt will attract all the water, become soggy, and have even more chance of damaging your crystal. Now we'll move on to tap water. And you need to be careful if you live in a location where you have heavy water, where natural or added chemicals are added, and it could end up creating layers on the crystal. If you add salt, then you need to also make sure you rinse the salt off, because salt with water does over time become acidic and can eat away at the crystal. There is a big debate again about what crystals can and can't go in the water, what crystals can and can't go in water plus salt. And I will at one point do an experiment where I'll put all these crystals that are considered to be damaged in water. Don't worry, I'll have permission from the crystals to put these tumbles in. And we can all sit back and have a bit of a look at that. Personally, I did it for many years on the same crystals and had no problem with the majority of them. I actually have a much bigger chat about cleansing, because it is such a, does it work or doesn't it work, how do I do it? But it certainly was the way I did it forever. I certainly had a lot of crystals in the shop being cleaned with just plain water, just to get the dirt and grime off them. So now let's talk about moving water, the ocean or the sea or a beautiful lake or river. I absolutely adore that option. You've got so much beautiful energy of Mother Earth still in those forms of water. But I've had many stories of people who put their hands down with the crystal in it, and along came a wave, or the current was stronger than they expected, or they fell over and crystal lost. So you do need to bring a bucket, and again, make sure that your crystal is waterproof, so to speak. Then there's the metaphysical clean. That's point 8. And this is one that you will over time grow into. So if you're doing an energy healing technique like theta healing, kinesiology, Reiki, for goodness sake, use that ability to cleanse your crystals. I've heard about there's Reiki codes. Sorry, I'm not a Reiki practitioner, but I read that there's Reiki codes that you can actually use on the crystals to clean them. And sometimes you actually have to use this technique if after doing the other ones you can still feel the crystal is not right. There is something you need to learn or experience, or it's a different level of blockage. And so don't be surprised if you've had a really, really, really big shift and you actually have to take a crystal through several cleansings. If you haven't got those techniques, but you do feel a lovely connection to your guides, to beautiful energy around you, to Mother Earth, then you can just imagine that you've got energy channeling through you, a beautiful white light or a beautiful golden light, or use both light if you want, it doesn't matter. The intention is that you're channeling amazing cleansing energy, and it's going into the crystal, and then it's pushing out all that doesn't need to stay with the crystal. So I hope you enjoyed this quite fast chat about 8 methods, that you found a method or two that you'd like to try out, 1 or 2 methods that just resonate with you and more practical for you to do. And as I said, from that, explore other videos that I'll do about cleansing to see if there's anything more you need to know about the technique, or find some other information to help you. But they all work, in my opinion. I've had amazing experiences with all of them, and so I pass on my experience to you. My name is Shamara. I have been a lover of crystals. I've been working with them for 20 years and selling them intuitively to people for 18. I really hope that you enjoyed this. Click like, share, subscribe, help pass the message on, and then there'll be more and more experiences about crystals, more tips, techniques, beginners information, advanced information, and have a wonderful day with your crystal friends. Bye.